You must listen to this entire message before entering a selection. To accept this call, press 5. To refuse this call, hang up now. To block this call and all future calls, press none. You may enter a selection now.
Hello. Can't get my computer speaking just right. Okay, whatever.
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome back.
Long time no see.
Oh my gosh, I know. So sorry, we kind of just like left you hanging in season 1. We both got like ridiculously busy, especially with COVID and just school. You were in school, and then I decided that I was going to go back to school.
Just to recap, if this is like your first time joining us, or if you don't remember, I'm Savannah.
And I'm Aundrea.
And both of our boyfriends are currently incarcerated in the state of Iowa. They are serving 25-year sentences with a mandatory minimum of 17 and a half years for robbery. So we kind of talk about the relationships that we have with them, familial relationships, just of anybody who has somebody that's incarcerated and everything that comes along with that. So that's To Accept This Call.
Yeah.
Welcome. So I thought, we just thought we'd kind of recap of like what's been going on since we left you in September. So I know I said it. I was like, what's been up? What's new in your world? And then talk about what's new in Benjamin's world.
Okay. Let's see. So school, all of this, prison reform, me and Ben have been together for almost 5 years, and just learning the ropes of how like the prison system works, how reform is needed, what goes into like legislation and everything like that. I found out that I'm actually pretty passionate about, not just for him, but like other people too. So I decided to go back and get my paralegal certification. So that's kind of why we dropped off too, is school. And then of course it's just like the holidays and stuff, which were nice but stressful. So that's all that's really going on in my life. I'm gonna meet Auntie for the first time, so that's kind of exciting. Other than that, nothing.
Yeah, and Jet's doing good. Your beautiful pup.
Yeah, Jet, she's a psychopath still. She's going to puppy classes this coming Saturday, so maybe like soon she'll be good. We'll train her and she can just like sit back here and be like a cool background.
You can be our mascot.
Yeah, our mascot.
Yeah, we can get her like a little prison bandana and like.
Yeah, To Accept This Call bandana.
We should give her a chain.
So at the end of February, I think it's February 26th, will be exactly 1 year since I've seen him, which is crazy because, like our friend Olivia was saying that like in the 3 years that she's been with Caleb, she's gone a whole year without seeing him. And I'm like, oh my gosh, in the 5 years, soon to be 5 years that me and Ben have been together, I haven't seen him for 1 whole year. Like, that's crazy to me.
That is crazy when you really think about it. And like the worst part is that there's no end in sight. Like there's nothing that is, this is going to be coming soon. There's no word from the DOC. There's no word of anywhere in the world of like, this is when COVID will end, So we're all just kind of stuck. I would say it's definitely hard. But yeah, 1 whole year of not seeing people other than those that they live with and that are in charge of them. Like, oh my God, can you imagine if you were stuck with your boss for a whole year?
That's insane. Yeah, like imagine just being stuck at work basically with people that you like somewhat get along with, but then like, and the people you're in charge of, and just having to constantly be there and not knowing when you can see like outside world. Like that's crazy.
That you want to like choose to be around, you don't get to see them. You have to be stuck with people that you don't have a choice to be around.
Right, exactly.
That'd be awful.
Crazy. I know. And I just feel bad for all of them, not even just our guys, but like everybody incarcerated, because some people aren't lucky enough like us to get video visits. Like they still are strict lockdown, like phone calls a couple times a week if they're lucky, so.
They're still in their cells like 23 hours a day.
Yeah.
Like, so our hearts definitely go out to them for sure. We
Yeah.
feel very fortunate with what we get, but I'm also freaking greedy, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. This up a little bit. Come on, like I just want to see him.
I know.
Yeah. And Benjamin usually would be in school, right? But they
Yep.
canceled.
Yeah, they decided to cancel school. I think they did it through the fall. Yeah, baby. They did it in the fall. I think took a couple classes. But yeah, then they decided to cancel this spring semester, which is super frustrating because he only has 2 more classes and then he has his associates. And those were the last 2 classes he knew.
Yeah. And the worst part about it too is I was saying like it doesn't put anybody at risk. The way that they do school in there doesn't put anybody at risk. They do it all through like correspondence or on a tablet or like a computer, like a laptop, I want to say. So it's like there's no face-to-face interaction with their professors. There's nobody even coming in and out from the college to the prison. So it's like, what is so hard about coordinating that? I don't,
Right.
to be honest. But
Yeah. People are just joining in again. So both our boyfriends got COVID. They were roommates, and then Jake got COVID first, right? Yeah. And then went to quarantine, and then I know it feels like forever ago. And then not too long after that, Benjamin got COVID. Jake recovered pretty fast, I think, and hasn't really had any problems since. Benjamin kind of recovered pretty fast, but now he's been struggling with like a lot of post-COVID symptoms, a lot of chest pain, a lot of numbness, stuff like that. And it's just kind of frustrating because first, of course, they wanted to play it off as like anxiety. And, his response was, I've been in prison for 13 years. I know what anxiety is, and this isn't it. And I was like, yeah, that's a pretty good point. Like, that is a true statement. So he has an appointment to go to the actual like doctors. But of course they don't tell him when it is or what time or anything for security purposes. So we're just waiting on that to see. He's been feeling better though, as of lately.
Good, I'm glad. And that kind of brings up to like a little bit of a preface for what we're going to talk about in the upcoming season. We have like a little bit of an outline, and Aundrea has a family friend, I want to say.
Yes.
Physical therapist in a state prison.
In North Carolina.
Yeah, in North Carolina. So in that, we can talk more about the medical process that like our men have to go through. And then that friend can talk about kind of how that works there, just so that we can help you understand that a little bit better too.
Yeah.
That's something to look forward to. We have a few special guests coming up this season, and we'll talk about that more too.
Yeah. So how are you? How's Jake?
I'm great. Thank you. Yeah, I started back up in school as well. I started that up, and then my first semester ended. I'll be done in spring of 2022. So I've been busy with that. Yes. I moved. What else has happened? I feel like there's been so much, but also right now I'm like
nothing at all.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. Still haven't got to see my boyfriend. None of it. So
No.
Yeah, that's been pretty much it on our side. Jake's been good. He is back in his wood shop, which was like his original job all throughout his incarceration at Fort Dodge. But shortly before COVID, the wood shop got shut down because somebody chopped off their finger. And so so now he gets to work there again, and he's doing that like 4 days a week, and then he works at IPI 3 days a week, so he's working 7 days a week, which is kind of sucks. And he's been grumpy. I'm glad he doesn't get to hear this because he'd be mad if I told everybody he was grumpy.
No,
he's been grumpy.
Yeah.
Overall,
that's the thing too. Yeah, Ben's been working servery, and then apparently he's a barber now. Who knew?
They're all barbers, aren't they?
Everybody's a barber in there, I'm pretty sure. But apparently he can cut good hair. I don't know.
Well, good. Do you want to talk a little bit about like the upcoming season of what people can expect?
Sure.
What do we got for next week? I'm excited about next week.
Okay, so next week we have our friend Jeremy, who was incarcerated in Iowa with our guys. I believe he have a mandatory
Yeah, I want to say he
Yeah.
was second-degree robbery.
Yeah, I think so. So only 10 years maximum, 7 years minimum. So he'll be on. We're gonna grill him. We have so many questions
And
for
he
him.
said nothing was off limits.
Yep.
So whatever you guys want, that'll be fun.
Yeah, and he has a pretty crazy story. So
get forward.
You know it, right?
Forward to it. No, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I only know him because I've talked with him like about mandatory sentencing reform, and then that lady. You know the lady.
So do you know he escaped from jail?
No, I didn't know that.
He was in I think Black Hawk County.
That's where Jake was.
Yeah, and I think they were transferring him, and he escaped. Yeah, Google it. It's crazy. It's cool in the sense that he went from being a person like that, like escaping and just, I'm pretty sure he was a drug user, stuff like that, to a reformed citizen that's like trying to help reform the prison system because he knows what it's like in there.
I think that he'll be a good example of the kind of person that we think are like that we know that our men are.
Yeah.
You can see like it kind of gives us hope in a sense though too, to see like look what he's able to accomplish and like look what he's done with his stuff, and then let's do better than that even. So
exactly. So and then as you said, a family friend of ours is a physical therapist in a state prison in North Carolina. I briefly have talked to him about things, but I'm really excited to talk to him because he's just one of those, he's from the South. And so he's like one of those like wholesome, down to earth, like Southern hospitality kind of dudes. And so I'm really excited to see, and very like conservative. So I'm interested to see his like perspective of things working in a prison.
Also, there's a couple of just topics. We have a couple topics. One that we really want to talk about is like the release side of things, because neither of us have really dealt with that, obviously, because they're still in there. So we want to talk about like re-entry into society. I have some questions from a couple friends that were asking about things like that. So I think it'll be good to touch on it. Jeremy can also help us with some questions.
Mm-hmm.
We're excited to talk about like mental health and anxiety and depression and things like that that come with being in prison and then being in a prison relationship. It's like important to spread awareness, so we're excited to talk about that. One other person that I am so freaking pumped for, like I'm fangirling a little bit on this one. There is this girl who posts TikToks. I'm sure that a lot of you guys have seen it. Her username is @JADALOUS. Her name is Jade. Her husband is in prison, and she went viral for posting. She got a huge cardboard cutout of him, and she put it like on her Roomba. She laid in bed with it. She put him in her pool and was like showing it. It was so funny. She's freaking awesome, and she is just. So I'm excited to hear her experiences. She agreed to be on here. I'm pumped for that. The other one that I'm pumped for, there's two that are kind of on the fence right now. So maybe not. I'm going to reach out to a couple former COs that Jake is cool with that don't work at Fort Dodge anymore. So hopefully they can give us some insight on it.
Yeah.
We're excited
about it. Even if they were like came on and anonymous, if they still didn't feel comfortable, we can like blur out their faces and
their voices, we can distort them or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm going to reach out to them, and I'm excited. I really think that they will. Like I have a good.
I think so too.
Yeah. And then the last one that we have in mind is one of our friends who actually is in a relationship with somebody who is a sex offender. So we kind of want to talk about that dynamic that she's experienced in the relationship, and then also the dynamic that he's experienced.
We see like the judgment and the stigma on our side of things, like I mean, we were talking about how people will say, oh, you can release everybody except for violent offenders and sex offenders. And it's like, there's so much more that go into it, into the stories, into the sentencing of things. And it's just interesting. And then how he deals with it in there.
So breaking that stigma, and then the other thing I was going to say too, you had brought up about how people talk about violent offenders, right?
Yeah.
Both of our guys are categorized as violent offenders. And like we've mentioned, in our cases, there was a gun at both scenarios, but we have a friend in there who is considered a violent offender, even though he robbed banks using a note. He didn't have a weapon on him. I don't know him that well, but I don't know if he could really take down a lot of people. He's kind of a little thing, you know?
Yeah.
And he used disguises and like costumes to rob banks. And he's considered a violent offender because he has a robbery sentence, because that's what attached to it. So whatever the circumstances are of the crime doesn't matter when they categorize you as violent or not.
Right.
It's the sentence as a whole. And like an assault, for example, in the state of Iowa is a simple misdemeanor. And if somebody went into like a place, it's really hard to establish intent. And I think that's something like in the criminal justice system that's talked about a lot, is like, how can we say what this person's intention was when they went in? Because we're not in their brain.
Right.
Let's say, for example, that somebody went into a scenario with the intent to rob somebody, but they just didn't pull it off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's an assault at that point. And so it's like, just because they weren't capable of doing what they wanted to do, it classifies them at a whole different level than somebody who did.
Right.
Know? That's
like, you know, like on My Favorite Murder, that's what they always talk about, is like attempted murder. So you're telling me that you were trying to murder me and that you didn't succeed, so you get a lesser charge because I survived?
Yeah, like I should get something for that, not you. Like you shouldn't. I should get money, or I should get something, or a prize.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like, it blows my mind. Like, you get a lesser sentence for attempted murder because you live.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's weird.
It's so weird. The criminal justice system is weird, and I think that the more that I'm in it, the more I understand it, and the less I understand it at the same time.
Exactly. That's pretty much how it goes.
Yeah. So those are just some of the things that we have in mind for this season.
I'm so excited. It's going to be cool. It's going to be really interesting. You know, like that first season was just kind of talking about us and background of who we are, who our boyfriends are, why we're doing this podcast, stuff like that. So it's going to be cool to like talk to other people from, you know, like we talked about, like other women who have loved ones incarcerated, to people who have been incarcerated, to the people who keep them incarcerated. So
it hits all angles, for real.
Yeah,
so we're really excited. This first episode, again, is just like a little introduction into the season, and I feel like this is a good place to leave it off.
Yeah. If you guys have any questions for Jeremy, anything at all, anything from maybe like what led him to prison time, to his sentencing, to what it's like being in there, like he can give you the real lowdown, and he is a very like matter of fact and realistic kind of guy, where he's not gonna like bullshit you.
And you can find us on social media. We have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and email. We have all, and yeah, you can email us questions, email us your stories. We have gotten a couple stories before, connected with a couple people, but we'd always love to know more, because it's not just like Anna was just saying, it's not just us in this, it's people all over. And so it's, you know, creating this narrative and helping us understand everybody so that we can do better on a personal level with everything. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So
thanks for watching episode 1 of season 2 of To Accept This Call.
Thank you. And we'll see you next week.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.